Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're going to be diving into Agyeman Bonsu's insights and advice for 2025.
Okay.
He's got a lot to say about navigating this year with hope and purpose,
Right.
especially given everything that went on in 2024.
Absolutely. Bonsu's work always kind of blends the philosophical with the practical.
Yeah.
And this time is no different. He's got us reflecting on these timeless human questions about, fate and free will.
Right.
But he also gives some really concrete guidance for how to actually make the most of this year.
Yeah. He really does. And he kind of jumps right in. He doesn't sugarcoat things. He reminds us that 2024 was quite the year. A mix of progress and setbacks.
It was.
It talks about Trump's return to the White House,
Right.
The devastating hurricanes, Helene and Milton.
Oh, yeah.
Helene being the deadliest in North Carolina's history.
Right.
And these ongoing tensions around issues like gun violence and immigration.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah. He doesn't just sort of present this laundry list of events, though.
Right.
What I think is interesting is how he highlights the nuances, like how Republicans became more confident in U.S. election integrity after Trump won.
Yeah. Really.
That shift in sentiment isn't something that you would necessarily expect.
Exactly. It really shows that he's looking beneath the surface, trying to understand the less obvious forces that are shaping our world.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really thought-provoking. Even with all of the challenges of 2024, Bonsu's core message for 2025 is about holding on to hope and faith.
Yeah.
And not just in a passive, wishful way, but as active forces that help us shape our reality.
He uses a really powerful analogy to explain this.
Yeah.
He says faith is like prayer.
Okay.
It's not just about asking for things, but it's about actively working to make our aspirations come to life.
Okay, that's a really interesting way to think about it.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like in practice, though?
Yeah.
Especially when we're constantly bombarded with so much negativity in the world. How do we as individuals actually cultivate that sense of hope and translate it into meaningful action?
That's a great question. I think that's the core question that Bonsu's urging us to consider as we step into 2025. And he's very clear that it's not about waiting for some sort of magical shift or expecting things to just fall into place. He says, plan and take actions, little steps, take control, else you shall wave goodbye to 2025.
Wow.
Just like you did in 2024, and hope again and again for the next year to come.
So he's really emphasizing taking ownership.
Yeah.
Not just hoping for the best, but actively creating it.
Exactly. And this leads us to another one of the fascinating concepts that Bonsu explores, which is the interplay of fate and free will. It's a question that has puzzled philosophers for centuries, right?
For sure.
Is our life predetermined?
Right.
Or do we have the power to choose our path?
Yeah, something I've definitely thought about a lot myself. It feels like there are times when things just seem to happen as if it was meant to be.
Yeah.
But then there are other times when our choices very clearly shape the course of events.
Yeah.
It's a tricky balance.
It really is. And Bonsu doesn't offer a simple answer.
Right.
But he does present this really nuanced perspective. He believes that even if fate exists, it requires effort to bring it to fruition.
So it's not about just passively waiting for fate to unfold.
Not at all. He uses the analogy of planting a seed.
Okay.
A seed has the potential to grow into a beautiful tree, but it needs nurturing sunlight, water.
Right.
In the same way, our dreams and aspirations might be part of our destiny, but they need our active participation to become a reality.
It's like we have to meet fate halfway.
Yeah.
We have to put in the work, make the effort, and nurture those seeds of possibility.
Exactly.
I like that.
And to do that effectively, he reminds us that we have these unique tools at our disposal: consciousness, reasoning capability, and recognitive ability. These are the gifts that allow us to make choices, to plan for the future, and to shape our lives with intention.
He also brought up this really intriguing concept called initial grace.
Yes.
It sounds almost spiritual, but also very practical.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Absolutely. This is where I think Bonsu's blend of philosophy and real-world advice really shines through.
Okay.
He argues that each of us enters this world with a unique set of advantages and disadvantages.
Right.
Think of it like a starting package that we're given. Some of us might be born into privilege and opportunity, while others face hardship and limitations from the very beginning.
Right.
The starting package is what Bonsu calls initial grace.
So it's kind of like the hand we're dealt in life.
Yeah.
Some people get dealt a better hand than others. And that shapes their journey in some pretty profound ways.
That's a great way to put it. And Bonsu acknowledges that this starting point isn't fair.
Right.
He uses the stark example of a child born in a war-torn zone. Compared to a child born into privilege, their initial grace is vastly different.
Yeah.
And yet, he argues that understanding our own unique starting point is crucial for navigating life effectively.
Okay.
It's not about dwelling on what we lack,
Right.
but recognizing what we have and using it to our advantage.
That's a really powerful idea. How do we actually apply this concept of initial grace in our own lives?
That's a question that we'll dive into a little bit deeper in just a bit.
Okay.
But first, let's explore some of Bonsu's more practical advice for making the most of 2025.
Okay.
He's got a lot of wisdom to share on how to cultivate hope,
Right.
embrace resilience, and make meaningful progress towards our goals.
Sounds good.
Let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Welcome back. So before we get into Bonsu's practical tips for 2025,
Okay.
let's circle back to that question you posed about initial grace. How do we actually apply this concept in our daily lives?
It's such a thought-provoking idea.
It is.
You know, it makes you think about all the factors that have shaped your journey.
Yeah.
Your upbringing, the opportunities you've had, the challenges you've faced. It's a reminder that life isn't always a level playing field.
Precisely. And Bonsu doesn't shy away from that reality at all.
Right.
He acknowledges that some of us are born with more advantages than others.
Yeah.
But here's the crucial point. He doesn't want us to dwell on the unfairness of it all.
Okay.
Instead, he challenges us to focus on what we can control.
Okay.
Our own choices and actions.
So instead of getting stuck in that cycle of comparison or feeling disadvantaged,
Right.
we should be focusing on leveraging what we do have,
Exactly.
regardless of our starting point.
Exactly. It's about recognizing and appreciating your own unique initial grace, however big or small it may be.
Right.
And then using that as a springboard to create positive change both in your own life and in the world around you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
It's about taking ownership and responsibility,
Yeah.
even when things feel outside of our control. But how does Bonsu suggest we actually do that? What are his specific recommendations for making the most of 2025?
He's a big believer in planning and taking action.
Okay.
You know, he emphasizes the need for like a clear vision and actionable steps.
Yeah.
But he also reminds us that, you know, plans should be flexible.
Right.
Life is unpredictable.
Yeah, for sure.
And we need to be able to adapt as we go.
He also stresses focus and discipline, too.
Absolutely.
Like avoiding distractions and really committing to the tasks at hand.
Yes, Bonsu is all about making conscious choices with our time and energy, recognizing that these are precious resources that shouldn't be wasted on things that don't truly matter to us. He even encourages us to keep a journal, to track progress and hold ourselves accountable.
I love the way he talks about time.
Yeah.
He says when you are aware of your breath in and out, you are conscious of every passing time. It's such a beautiful reminder to be present in each moment.
It's a really powerful image. And it connects to his emphasis on mindfulness and gratitude.
Right.
Bonsu wants us to savor the good things in our lives, no matter how small they may seem. He believes that cultivating gratitude is essential for maintaining a positive outlook and navigating challenges with grace.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life.
It really is.
And forget to appreciate those simple joys.
Yeah.
But Bonsu's words are like a gentle nudge to slow down, breathe, and appreciate the present moment.
Exactly. And speaking of support, Bonsu also highlights the importance of surrounding ourselves with the right people. He believes that having a supportive network of friends, family, mentors can make all the difference in achieving our goals and weathering life's storms.
So he's basically saying we don't have to go it alone.
Absolutely.
We can lean on each other for encouragement, guidance, inspiration.
Exactly. And this ties into his emphasis on community and collaboration. You know, Bonsu really sees the power of working together, sharing ideas, and supporting each other's growth.
But what about those inevitable setbacks?
Yeah.
You know, life throws us curveballs all the time.
It does.
How does Bonsu suggest we deal with those moments when things don't go according to plan?
That's where resilience comes in.
Okay.
Bonsu acknowledges that challenges are an unavoidable part of life.
Right.
You know, we're all going to face obstacles, experience disappointments, make mistakes.
For sure.
But he doesn't want us to let those setbacks define us.
So it's not about avoiding failure altogether.
No.
But learning how to bounce back from it.
Exactly. He encourages us to embrace failure as an opportunity for growth. To view setbacks as temporary detours rather than dead ends.
I like that.
He reminds us that even when things feel tough, you have done all, at present.
It's such a reassuring thought.
It is.
It takes the pressure off of needing to have all the answers all the time.
Right.
It allows us to be a little bit kinder to ourselves during those moments of uncertainty.
And he offers some really practical strategies. For
cultivating that resilience. Such as prioritizing self-care, practicing positive self-talk, and seeking support from others when needed.
Right.
He also reminds us that asking for help is not a weakness,
Okay.
but a sign of strength, and self-awareness.
All of this is resonating with me on like a personal level.
Yeah.
Bonsu's insights are both inspiring and practical.
I agree.
But I'm curious to hear your perspective.
Okay.
As you've been diving into his work, what has stood out to you as the most impactful takeaway? It's interesting, as I've been listening to you kind of break down Bonsu's ideas, what really strikes me is how he manages to balance these big philosophical concepts with really grounded, actionable advice.
Yeah.
It's not just about pondering fate and free will, It's about understanding how those ideas can inform our daily choices and help us navigate the year ahead with more intention.
I completely agree. I think what resonates with me is how he emphasizes that we have more agency than we often realize.
Yeah. Even if we can't control every circumstance, we can choose how we respond, how we use our unique gifts and resources, and how we contribute to the world around us.
And I think that idea of initial grace really brings that point home.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we're all starting from different places.
Right.
But it's not about comparing our starting points.
Exactly.
It's about making the most of what we have wherever we are on that journey.
Absolutely. And I appreciate how Bonsu doesn't shy away from the reality that some people face far greater obstacles than others.
Right.
He acknowledges the systemic issues and injustices that shape our lives.
Yeah.
But even within those constraints, he's urging us to find those pockets of agency.
Yeah.
Those areas where we can make choices that align with our values and create positive change.
It's like he's saying, yes, the world is complex and unfair, but you still have the power to make a difference. And that message of hope and empowerment, I think, feels especially important right now as we kind of face the uncertainties of a new year.
Absolutely. It's not about ignoring the challenges or pretending everything is fine.
Right.
It's about acknowledging the difficulties while also choosing to focus on what we can control, on those small steps we can take to move in the right direction.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Bonsu's insights, what would you say is the most important thing for our listener to remember as they step into 2025?
I think it's that idea that this year is a blank canvas. It's an opportunity to take all that we've learned from the past, to reflect on our own initial grace, and to choose how we want to move forward. It's about setting intentions, taking action, and embracing the journey, even with all its inevitable twists and turns.
Beautifully said. And I think Bonsu would remind us that even amidst all the chaos and uncertainty, there's always reason for hope.
Absolutely.
Hope not as like a passive wish, but as this driving force that fuels our actions and helps us create a more meaningful and fulfilling life for ourselves and for others.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, on that note, it's time for us to surface from this deep dive.
Okay.
But before we go, I want to leave our listener with one final thought from Bonsu.
All right.
He says, when you have done all you can do, know that you have done all you know at present. It's a reminder that we're all works in progress. And that's okay.
It's about being kind to ourselves, embracing the learning process, and trusting that we're exactly where we need to be in this moment.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Of course.
We hope you found Bonsu's insights as thought-provoking and inspiring as we did. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.